The ACC has been down the past couple years outside of Clemson. It hasn't always been down. Question is, will it ever get back to being a conference that is, how do I want to put this? Not a cupcake conference. Will it ever get back to being a non-cupcake type of conference? Let's look into it. What's going on, everybody? Christian Ballard here, Ballard Sports Media, talking ACC football today. The past couple years, really ever since the playoff era, there's only been two teams from the ACC to have made the college football playoff. If you go back to the first one, Florida State made the Rose Bowl, lost to Oregon. Oregon goes on, loses to Ohio State in the first playoff championship, So before you guys get all up in arms about, no, it's only been Clemson, Florida State made the playoff, in the initial college football playoff year. But since then, Clemson has made it every single year. They've won the ACC the past 5-6 years in a row. Had one of the best winning percentages. Dabo is doing something at Clemson. Clemson is not a dynasty, but they are a really good team. They're a premier program right now in college football. But unfortunately for them, the ACC is not a premier conference. But it hasn't always been down like it is. Let's look at the ACC real quick. Let's look at that. I'm looking at the standings for 2020. Switch it over to 2019. Let's look at some of these teams here. Now, again, all of these, you have in the ACC, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I guess 14 teams, just like the SEC. SEC has 7 teams in the East and in the West. In this case, the Atlantic Coastal Conference, the ACC, you have the Atlantic Division and the Coastal Division. In the Atlantic Division, you have Clemson, Louisville, Wake Forest, Florida State, Boston College, Syracuse, NC State. All right, look at the Coastal Division. Virginia, Virginia Tech, Miami, Pittsburgh, North Carolina, Blue Devils of Duke, and Georgia Tech. Everyone plays 8 conference games every year, pretty much. It'll be 10 this year because, conference-only football due to the pandemic or whatever, not going to get into that much. But I still think the ACC is Clemson and everybody else. I think that's a guarantee, that's a given, whatever you want to say. But the question isn't, is it going to be Clemson and everybody else necessarily? Because it might as well be. But will it get better? Could the ACC get worse? Let's look at some of these records right here from last year. Clemson, overall last year 14-1. Only loss was to LSU, who won the national title. Not talking about championships here. We're talking about, again, the ACC. So undefeated in conference play, 8-0. Louisville, second in the Atlantic Division, 8-5 last year overall. They went 5-3 in conference play. Wake Forest, 8-5 overall, 4-4 in conference play. Florida State, 6-7, 4-4 overall. Boston College, 4-4 in conference play. I might have messed something up. Hold on. So, okay, Clemson, obviously 8-0 in conference play. Undefeated in the ACC play, won every game except for the last one. LSU wins the title. Louisville, 5-3 in conference play. 8-5 overall. let's see. Wake Forest 4-4 in conference play, 8-5 overall. Florida State, same thing, 4-4 in conference play, but they went 6-7 overall. It looks like I guess a bowl win because they would have, or a bowl loss, 6-6, 7 losses with a bowl loss. Same thing for Boston College, 4-4 conference play, 6-7 overall. Syracuse 2-6 in conference play, 5-7 overall. NC State Wolfpack, I'll get to that in a minute. 1-7 in conference play, 4-8 overall. Look at the Coastal Division. Virginia Cavaliers at the top. Obviously, of course they made the ACC conference. Conference championship, I should say. 6-2 in conference play, 9-5 overall. Virginia Tech, 5-3, 8-5 overall. Miami, 4-4 in conference play against ACC teams, 6-7 overall. Pittsburgh Panthers, 8-5 overall, 4-4 in conference play. North Carolina Tar Heels, again, I'll get to them in a minute. 4-4 in conference play, 6-7, or 7-6 overall. I'm sorry. Duke Blue Devils. I'm having a hard time talking today. I do apologize. Duke Blue Devils, 3-5 in conference play against ACC teams, 5-7 overall. Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, 2-6 in conference play, 3-9 overall. So, this is interesting. So, it's kind of weird, isn't it? Let's look at a team like North Carolina. They are recruiting so well. A few months ago, I was looking at recruiting rankings for 2021 for next year's class, and they were at the top at number 1. They've dropped a little bit, but they're recruiting very well. They had a game against Clemson. They lost by a point. Somehow, Clemson prevented a failed 2-point conversion. North Carolina just couldn't do it. They had a chance. How North Carolina ended up losing this game, beyond me. Clemson had a bad day and should have lost last year. Georgia Tech at the bottom of the Coastal Division. I don't know what to say about Georgia Tech. I did a season preview for them. I've talked about them. I gave my record prediction. I think I said 3-9. This was all before the whole 10-game conference-only schedule. So, looking at this, and of course, look at Duke. One of their losses being to Alabama, but regardless of that, the ACC is just crazy. It is Clemson and everybody else. Virginia won the Coastal Division last year. I think the year before that, it was Miami or whoever. It's up and down. So, yes, it is a cupcake conference, okay? But you got to think, it's a cupcake conference, so you're saying that, but ACC teams are making bowl games, and they're having 6-win seasons, and, look at this team, they only had 4 losses last year. Well, you got to think, they all play each other. At the very least, I think how it is set up is 8 conference games, right? In this case, you have, let's see. So 7 teams each division. So take Clemson. Then they play Louisville, Wake Forest, Florida State, Boston College, Syracuse, NC State. That's 6 teams plus 2 from the other division, 2 cross-division opponents. It is like that in the Big Ten. It's like that in the SEC. They all play each other, right? Someone has to win those games. Someone's got to win between Wake Forest and Florida State. Someone's got to win between Syracuse and Pitt. Someone's got to win between Duke and Georgia Tech. You know, so that's why it might look like, oh look, they went 9-3. Well, they played 9 teams in the ACC or whatever, or maybe it's a little less than that. Whatever. The point I'm trying to make here is, I want to look at the ACC and see if it's going to get better this year in 2020. I think Louisville with Scott Satterfield could do something. I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to make a playoff run. I'm not saying they're going to win a title. I'm not saying any of that. They're in the same division as Clemson, but I feel like give them a couple years and they could be recruiting well. They could be competing a little bit. Miami is recruiting well. I watch Mark Rogers TV all the time. Always love hearing from the Miami people. They're getting really good recruits. They're stacking up pretty well. I see Miami getting better. They were good a few years ago. They looked like a contender for the playoffs, at least to begin a season at first. They've fallen off a bit. Manny Diaz is still there, but recruiting-wise, I think it's getting better. In North Carolina is looking like a team that could have the number 1 class next year in 2021. They probably should have beat Clemson last year. I'm actually surprised looking at this. They were 5th in the Coastal Division. I thought they were a little higher than that. Pittsburgh Panthers, they always beat a team they shouldn't beat, whether it be in conference or out of conference. So, I don't know what to make of this. I think Florida State gets better with Mike Norvell, because I don't see how it could get any worse than what Willie Taggart did. So I think they get better. I think North Carolina gets better. Question is, overall, Clemson's always going to get better. We know that. They're not going to get worse. Dabo's just going to keep recruiting. He's going to be there. So, overall, I don't know. I really don't know what to make of it. I want to just make this clear, though, that I want to see the ACC improve. I know that everyone gives them crap because they're a cupcake conference, and they give Clemson a bunch of trash because, well, they don't play nobody, They haven't been tested or anything, and yeah, that's true. So we don't know what to make of them. But, Florida State was good a few years ago. Then Jimbo Fisher just struggled when Jameis Winston left, and he couldn't get it back. Then Willie Taggart comes in and makes it even worse. Mike Norvell has a chance. Again, I watch Mark Rogers all the time. Always watching his live streams, and these Florida State people are high on Mike Norvell. Is he going to be the guy for a team like Florida State? Maybe. Is the key for Syracuse to play more home games? I don't know. But what will it take for the ACC to get better? Is it recruiting? Is it just, it'll never get better because Clemson's in there? I want to get your thoughts down below, obviously, in the comments section. Comment down below. Let me know what you think. So, I think a team like Louisville could be good next year. They could improve a little bit. Miami could improve. North Carolina, they were, again, 5th in the Coastal Division. They could probably win the Coastal Division and make a run at the ACC title game. Meet up with Clemson. If North Carolina gets better this year. Now, again, you got to think Clemson's going to be better too, but let's say these two teams meet in the ACC title game and they both improved. Can North Carolina upset Clemson in an ACC title game? I'm not saying it can or will happen, hypothetically speaking. But, man, I'm not trying to rip on Clemson or anything. Everyone's always like, oh, it's Bama, Clemson, and everybody else. I'm sick of Bama, Clemson. I'm sick of Bama, Clemson. I'm not necessarily sick of Clemson, but man, I would like to see the ACC be more competitive. I want to see teams like North Carolina have a chance. Florida State get back to being good. Louisville and Scott Satterfield, Miami. At some point, there's going to be a time where it's not Clemson in the playoffs from the ACC, I'm sure. But man, as far as bowl games and everything, I wish we could look at the ACC and say they can play with the Big Ten, they can play with the SEC, they can play with the big, tough, bad boys. I wish we could look at them and say that. But we look at the ACC, we look at Clemson, and we say, who you got in there? Clemson, and then who? Well, Louisville's in there. Yeah, but compare them to Clemson. Compare them to Clemson. They might be good against Duke or Wake Forest or Syracuse or whoever, but compare them to the big guy in Clemson and Dabo Swinney, Trevor Lawrence, and all them. Folks, the point I'm trying to make is that the ACC is a cupcake conference, but I would like to see it get better. So the question is, and I want to obviously, again, get your thoughts, comment down below, does it get better in 2020? Will it take a few years? Does it get even worse? Can it get worse? Can it get more of a cupcake conference? Definitely comment down below and let me know. I just, at some point it has to get better, right? At least Louisville got rid of Bobby Petrino, if anything. That's the upside for them. I don't know what to make of Scott Satterfield. Again, I did preview videos back in the spring and early summer looking at these teams. I did a Louisville one. And I gave my thoughts. I think I had them going like 7-5 or 8-4. I had them looking a little better. Maybe even I might have even picked them to go 9-3. I don't know. And again, I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus in the ACC. I'm just trying to make a point here that it can get better in a way. I don't see how it gets anywhere. Like, I don't see how Florida State gets worse, with Mike Norvell than they were with Willie Taggart. I don't see that. I think that was a terrible hire from the start. Miami was pretty good a few years ago. I think had like a 10-2 season, met up with Clemson in the ACC title game, and then they, of course they lost that game. Otherwise, they probably would have, made the playoffs, or Clemson would have not made the playoffs, or however it would have gone down. But I mean, it's obviously Clemson and everybody else. I think that's a given. And if you're an ACC team, you're saying, what do I need to do to compete with them? At the very least, just win more games, win a bowl game, and go from there. What was the game? Louisville won the Music City Bowl against Mississippi State. That's a good way to end the season if you're a team like Louisville. A bowl win over an SEC team. That's a statement. That's something, I think. But how are you going to respond to it? Pittsburgh, they beat a team they shouldn't beat every year, whether it's non-con or in conference or whatever. Why is that? Is it just they only get lucky 1 week out of the season? I think the ACC just is so inconsistent and just a lack of coaching talent. I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but man, it's just broken right now. And I want to see the ACC get better. I want to see more competition again with these teams. I'm not saying I want to see Clemson lose, although let's be honest, it's Clemson, it's Bama, it's Clemson, it's Bama. You kind of want those teams. If you're a college football fan, you're like, oh, I hate that it's always the same teams, right? I'm kind of that way. I want to see more teams in the ACC compete. I want to see maybe teams like Iowa in the Big Ten get better. Big Ten's not playing this year. They're trying to look at spring football, I think. But, again, there's all these teams like the Big Ten's like Penn State, Ohio State, and who else, right? You want to see a team like Iowa over in the Big Ten compete more and win the Big Ten and, have a chance. Okay, well, I don't care who it is, man. I'm pulling for the ACC this year. I'm hoping that these teams can improve and get better because again, we talk about the ACC. Oh, it's a cupcake conference. We're not trying to throw them under the bus or anything. We poke fun and we laugh. We don't hate the ACC. I don't see why anyone really would unless they did something to your team. But it's just one of those things. I think that you're like. Wow, I don't know. You get what I'm saying. The ACC is currently a cupcake conference, but there is a chance maybe maybe not this year, but give it a few years down the road. Seems like Louisville could get a little better. Mike Norvell could do something at Florida State. North Carolina with Mac Brown, if he can continue to recruit. Win some more games at Chapel Hill. We could be looking at the ACC 5 years from now and saying it's not as much of a cupcake conference anymore. It might not be the SEC, it might not be the Big Ten, but there's it's not just Clemson anymore. I'm not saying that in a few years it's going to be like that, but it could. I hope it is like that because, again, I mean, it's so. When the conference like the ACC is just one good team and, the rest of them just kind of battle it out just to get an extra win or something, it's just kind of boring, I think. So let me know what you guys think down below. Do you expect it to get better in 2020? Do you want to see the ACC get more competitive? Definitely comment down below. Let me know. I want to see it be more competitive. Again, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. I'm not throwing these coaches. I'm not throwing players. I'm not throwing teams under the bus. But you know the truth about it, and I know the truth about it. I mean, it just will it be better in 2020 is the big question I have. And I'm going to be watching the ACC this year and seeing, okay, how can it improve? Who's improving this year? Is it really Clemson and everybody else in the ACC? Now, that's not saying, it is because, Clemson, of course, won the ACC again. It's not like that. But, man, give them some more competition instead of all these blowouts running the score up, beating Louisville. They beat Louisville a couple years ago like 77-0. That's a cupcake. That's cupcake score right there. 51-10 against Georgia Tech. So anyway, good luck to the ACC this year. And again, let me know what you think down below. And I'll see you guys next time. Until then, Ballard Sports Media, checking out. Have a good day.